so for this design, we want to start creating a magic circle. Different ways to do this. The way that I make my magic circle is I fold my yarn like this, creating a loop, grab my hook, continue pinching it down, and now grab my yarn. Then I'm going to yarn over and pull through, and then chain 1. And now I can let go of everything and undo the loop here. And that's my magic circle. Again, there's different techniques and more in-depth videos on YouTube if you need to search for that. Now we have our magic circle here. We're going to start with a chain 2, which does not count as a stitch, just chain 2. And now into the ring, we're going to insert 20 double crochets. For a double crochet, you yarn over, go into the loop, grab the yarn and pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And that's my first double crochet. I want a total of 20. So yarn over, insert into the circle, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Again, I'm going to do a total of 20 double crochets. I'll do that off camera and I'll see you when I'm done. Okay, so I just finished my 20th double crochet here. Now I can go ahead and close off my ring. So I'm just going to pull on the other strand until this is closed. I'm going to pull it nice and tight here. Sometimes it gets like a little stuck and you got to be careful not to break it. But if it's a little open, that's okay because your head's going to go on top of this and it's going to hide it anyway. So there we go. So now that you've got this closed off, you want to do a slip stitch to the top of the first double crochet that you made. So we're skipping that chain 2 and going on top of the first double crochet with a slip stitch. Now this here is the end of row 1. For row 2, we're going to start with a chain 1. And we're going to do 1 single crochet into the same stitch that we're currently in. So into that same stitch, insert your hook and do a single crochet. And this is the row where we're going to create the star. So we're going to be skipping 1 stitch, and into the next you want to do 3 double crochets. So here is 1, 2, and 3. Now we are going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And into the same stitch, you want to do 3 double crochets. So another 3 double crochets into the very same stitch that you did your previous 3 double crochets into. And that's going to give you your first point here. Continuing the repeat, we are going to be skipping the next stitch. So skipping this one here. Be careful because they're tight. So you want to make sure that you're just skipping the right things. So skip a stitch and then do 1 single crochet into the next. And this is what we're going to do all the way around. So the repeat starts by skipping the next stitch and then doing a corner repeat. So the repeat begins at the single crochet. That's what I should have said. So single crochet, then you skip a stitch, then into the next we do the corner repeat, which is 3 double crochets, now a chain 3, and into that same stitch 3 double crochets. So that is 1, 2, and 3. And that's your second point. So then you would skip the next stitch and into the next a single crochet. Let's do it again together. We skip the next stitch into the next, point repetition. So 3 double crochets. A chain 3. And into that same stitch, 3 double crochets. Then we skip the next stitch and into the next do a single crochet. And that's our third point of the star. You're going to finish with 5 points. So I'm going to do those 2 off camera, continuing the same repeat, skipping a stitch, then the point repetition, skipping a stitch, single crochet. So I'll do that twice more and I'll see you when I'm done. Okay, so I just did my final point repetition into my second to last stitch. So 3 double crochets, chain 3, 3 double crochets. And now I'm going to be skipping the very last stitch of the row like I should. And after this, I'm just going to do a slip stitch to the first single crochet of the row. So I find my first single crochet and do a slip stitch. Now this here is the end of row 2. You have 5 points in your star. Now for row 3, we are going to do 2 slip stitches. So 1 slip stitch into each of the next 2 stitches. So into the next double crochet, a slip stitch, and into the next double crochet, a slip stitch. Now from this point, we are going to chain 3. And this chain 3 counts as a double crochet. Now you're going to do 1 double crochet into the next stitch, which is a double crochet. So 1 double crochet there. Now you've come to the corner space, to the chain 3 space, and we're going to do a corner repetition and it'll be the exact same throughout the pattern. So into the chain 3 space, you're going to work 3 double crochets. So that is 1, 2, and 3. Then a chain 3. And into the same space, 3 double crochets into the same corner chain space. That's the corner repetition there. Continuing the repeat, we're going to do 1 double crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. So into the next double crochet, a double crochet, and into the next one, a double crochet. Now we have come to kind of like the valley between the peaks of the star. So we're going to be skipping 3 stitches. You're going to skip, it's a double crochet, single crochet, and double crochet. You'll be skipping all 3 and into the next stitch doing a double crochet. Now you have 1 double crochet left at the peak here. Into that one, do 1 double crochet. Now you've come to the corner space into which you want the corner repetition, which is 3 double crochets. So 1, 2, and 3. I chain 3, and into the same chain space, 3 more double crochets. And this is what we want to do all the way around. So essentially what you're doing is, let me just explain here. You have groups of double crochets and single crochets in between. So you want double crochets into the sides. So into these 2 stitches and these 2 stitches. And the 3 in the middle, you're just going to skip. After that, you'll do your corner repetitions at the top into the chain spaces. So let me do it once again with you. Once you've done the corner repetition, you're going to do 1 single crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. That's 1 and this is 2. Then you're going to skip 3 stitches, so skip 1, 2, 3, and then do 1 double crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. Then you're going to come to the corner space into which you want to do your corner repetition, which is 3 double crochets. A chain 3, and into that same chain space, 3 double crochets. And that's that. So then you would repeat that twice more, making sure you do 1 double crochet into each of the next 2, skip 3, 1 double crochet into each of the next 2, and then the corner repetition at the chain space of 3 double crochets, chain 3, 3 double crochets. I'm going to do this twice more off camera and I'll see you when I'm done. Okay, I'm just doing the last repetition here. So I just want to show you. I'm at the corner. So I just did the 3 double crochet, chain 3, 3 double crochets. So now I just got to do 1 double crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. So that's going to be 1 and 2. And when I get here, this is going to give me the perfect amount of stitches that I need to skip. So I would be skipping 1, 2, and 3. And then after this, we're going to be doing a slip stitch to the top of the chain 3 that you started with. So into the top of the chain 3, insert your hook, and then just pull through to close. This here is the end of row 3. Now we're going to do row 4, and every row forward is going to be just a repeat of row 4. You're just going to be doing like something slightly different, but in terms of the logic of the row, it's the exact same all throughout, and you can grow this as big as you want. So we're going to start the row by doing 1 slip stitch into the next stitch. So just 1 slip stitch into the next stitch. Every single row forward is going to start the same. You want to get yourself to the second stitch of this group, which is the first double crochet of the row. From this point, we're going to chain 3, which counts as a double crochet. And now you want to do 1 double crochet into each of the stitches remaining on this side. So for this row, it's 3 stitches. So that's 1, 2, and 3. Then you're going to get to the corner. Into the chain space, you want to do your corner repetition of 3 double crochets, chain 3, and 3 double crochets. So this is my 3rd double crochet, chain 3, and another 3 double crochets into the same space. And this is my corner repetition. Okay. Continuing the repeat, we're going to do 1 double crochet into each stitch except for the last. So however many stitches you have in this group, you're going to do 1 double crochet into each one of them, but you're going to skip the last one. So we're going to do 1 double crochet here. That's 1, 2, 3, and 4. So for this row, it's just 4 double crochets, because now I'm at the last double crochet here, which I need to skip. Then you would go into the next group of double crochets, and you're going to do the same logic. You're skipping this one here, so skip the first, and then do 1 double crochet into each of the remaining stitches. So another way to say this is we're going to be skipping 2 and then doing 1 double crochet into each of the next group of stitches that you have, however many that is, before the corner repeat. Now you've arrived at the corner. Into the corner space, you want to do 3 double crochets. Then a chain 3. And into that same corner space, 3 double crochets. And there we have it. This basically ends the repeat and like the logic of what you want to do. So I'll do it once again with you just to make it very clear. We have come to the next group of double crochets. So we're going to do 1 double crochet into each of the stitches except for the last one. So 1 double crochet into each stitch. And now I've reached my last one, so I'm going to skip that. I'm also going to skip the first double crochet of the next group, and into the next one do a double crochet. And now I want a double crochet into each one of these stitches until I get to the corner space. Once at the corner space, you do your corner repetition of 3 double crochets. Then a chain 3, and into the same corner space 3 double crochets. And there we have it. That is basically the repeat. I'll do it twice more, and I'll meet you when I'm almost at the end here to show you how to finish this. Okay, I just did my last corner repetition here, and I've got my last group of double crochets to go. So I'm just going to do those double crochets into each stitch but the last. So this is my second to last. And that is my last stitch, so I'm going to skip it. I'm not going to do anything there. And because you started the row by doing a slip stitch to the second stitch here, then this is also a stitch that's like skipped. And so now we would be skipping this and doing a slip stitch to the top of the chain 3 that you started with. This here is the end of row 4. And that's why it's important to remember, so that these stay consistent. It's important to remember that each row moving forward from row 4 onwards, you're going to start by doing a slip stitch to the first double crochet of that group. And from this point, you're going to start. You're going to chain 3, which counts as a double crochet. And then you'll follow that logic of doing a double crochet into each stitch, the corner repetition, then 1 double crochet into each stitch down, except for the last one. You skip this, skip the next one, then 1 double crochet all the way up, chain 3, corner repetition, and then do that exactly all the way around, and every single row forward. It's the exact same idea. You begin it the same way, you end it the same way. Every row you're just going to be working, I think, 1 more double crochet on your sides. Then when you have the size that you want, you can go ahead and cut off your yarn and thread your ends through. I'm going to make one. I'll leave in writing how many rows I actually do for mine for the body of the Lovey. Okay, so I just finished my star here. I just want to show you that I made 4 more rows after row 4. So this will be my row 1, 2 is the star, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I have a total of 8 rows here, and this is the size, like when I pinch it up like this is the size that I want for the body of the Lovey. If you want it to be bigger, then go right ahead, but in my case, I am all done here. I've cut off my yarn and thread my ends through. Now we can move on to the actual head. So to create the head, we're going to be using a stitch marker, so make sure that you have one handy. You're going to create a magic circle again, however it is you do that, but if you need slow instructions, then go back to the beginning of the video. Now once you have your magic circle, you want to chain 1, and we're going to be working 10 single crochets into the circle. So into the circle, you do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So now we're going to close off our circle. I find that when I pull my circle tight, I kind of squish the first stitch and can miss it. So I'm actually just going to place my stitch marker into that stitch to make sure that I don't do that. So now I'm going to be pulling the shorter tail of the yarn, pull it tight. And there we go. Now I know that that is my first stitch here. And into there, I'm going to be starting my second row. So we can move on to row 2. I'm going to remove my stitch marker, and into that stitch there, I'm going to be doing a single crochet. So we're starting row 2 by doing a single crochet into the first stitch of the previous row, and now we're going to mark this stitch as well because this is the first stitch of the row. So for row 2, we're going to be working increases all the way around, so 2 single crochets per stitch. So this will be my second of that stitch. I go into the next stitch and do 2 single crochets into it. And same with every single stitch all the way around. So into each stitch, do 2 single crochets. all the way around. And I'll see you when you get to the stitch marker. Okay, I just did 2 single crochets into each stitch. If you count your stitches, you should have 20, including, of course, the one with the stitch marker. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So 20 stitches here. You can go ahead and remove the stitch marker to begin row 3. So you're going to do 1 single crochet into your next stitch. And then grab your stitch marker. For this row, we're going to be doing 1 single crochet and then an increase. So you did your single crochet already into the first stitch. So now you want an increase. 2 single crochets into the same stitch. Into the next stitch, 1 single crochet. Into the next, increase. And this is what we're doing all the way around. 1 single crochet and increase. Do this up until the stitch marker. You should be ending with an increase. Okay, I just went all the way around here and I've finished with my increase in the last stitch, and I have a total of 30 stitches. Now we can begin row 4, remove your stitch marker, do 1 single crochet into the next stitch, and mark that stitch. For this row, we're going to be doing 1 single crochet into each of the next 2 stitches and then an increase. So you've done your first one, into the next stitch, 1 single crochet, into the next stitch, and increase. So 2 single crochets into the same stitch. And that's what we want to do all the way around. 1 single crochet into each of the next 2 stitches, and then an increase. And this is how we're going to grow our circle. So 1, 1, and 2. Do this all the way around and I'll see you when you're done. All right, so I just went all the way around, finished off with my increase in the last stitch before the stitch marker, and I have 40 stitches. So this is going to be the circumference of the head. So one thing I want to say is if you are working with different yarn or your star, your body of the Lovey is different than mine, then you want to make sure that this is proportionate. So you're going to have to use a bit of imagination here. Once you hit the circumference you want, then you're going to be working it down. So this is as big as the head is going to get. So I kind of want to, see, okay, is this big enough, too small, too big? And that way you can determine if you need more rows of the circle before you work it down. I personally think that this is good enough. I might want to do 1 more if I want a bigger head. But in my case, I'm just going to start working it down. Okay, so now let's just work it down together. So we remove the stitch marker. We're going to do this every single row. You're going to insert your hook and then just do a single crochet. And now replace your stitch marker here. So that single crochet there is the beginning of row 5. I've already marked it. And now we're going to do just 1 single crochet per stitch all the way around. So 1 single crochet per stitch. And you're going to do this however many rows you need to add the height of the head. I'm of course going to tell you once I resume this how many rows I ended up doing. For now, I think I'm going to do 4 or 5, depending on how big this is growing. But I will let you know once I'm done the rows, and I'll let you know how many I did. All right, I just finished my 5th row of just single crochets, and this is what it's looking like. Personally, I think I want 1 more. 1 more row of single crochets, and then I'm going to start my decreases. So this is going to be my 6th row of just single crochets. Making sure that I mark the very first stitch every time. I just wanted to update you on this. I'm going to do the 6th row off camera, and I'll see you when I'm done. Okay, here's my 6th row of single crochets. So I started my rows of single crochets at row 6 plus 6, that's row 12. I believe I just finished row 12. So now we're going to start our decreases, and we're going to do it exactly as we did our increases. So it's proportional. So the very first one, because you ended up finishing these increases at 1 single crochet into each of the next 2 and then an increase. So here we would do 1 single crochet into each of the next 2 and then a decrease. So let's do that. I'm going to do my very first stitch of this row and mark it. Now we want to do 1 more single crochet into the next stitch. And now we're going to do a single crochet decrease. So for that, you're going to insert your hook into the next stitch, grab the yarn and pull up a loop and keep it right there. Go into the next stitch, grab the yarn and pull up a loop. So you'll have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through all 3. And you've just combined 2 stitches into 1. And this is what you want to do all the way around. 1 single crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. And then a decrease. So insert your hook, grab the yarn and pull up a loop. Into the next stitch, insert your hook, pull up a loop. 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through all 3. And that's your decrease there. So do this all the way around. 1 single crochet into each of the next 2. And then a decrease. And I'll see you when you're done. Okay, so just like your row of increases, you're going to finish off with a decrease in the last 2 stitches of the row. Now we're going to move on to the next row. Remove your stitch marker. Do 1 single crochet into that stitch. And now let's mark this first stitch of this new row. So for this row, we want to do 1 single crochet and then decrease. So into the next 2 stitches, you do a decrease. Do that again, 1 single crochet into the next, and then a decrease. And then 1 single crochet into the next, and then a decrease. And this is what we're going to do all the way around. 1 single crochet decrease, and I'll see you when you're done. Okay, I just went all the way around here. Now we're going to do our next row, and we're going to just be doing decreases. So remove your stitch marker. Into the next stitch, you're going to insert your hook, grab the yarn and pull up a loop. And now you want to do that again because you need a decrease here for your first stitch. So do your first decrease, and then you can mark that stitch. And now you want to do decreases all the way around. So into the next 2 stitches, you insert your hook and pull up loops, 3 loops on your hook, and you're going to create that decrease and do that all the way around. I might actually grab my stuffing and stuff it before I finish this row. Just stuff it enough so I can have maybe half of it stuffed and it's not super hard later. So let me stop right here and then grab my stuffing. Okay, so we're grabbing some and stuffing it in just so that it's not super tricky later. I don't like putting too much because then it makes it tricky to continue your stitches. So just enough that it's kind of hitting the bottom there. And now continue doing your decreases. Okay, I'm actually going to stuff it a little bit more now. And now continue your decreases. Okay, this is my last decrease of this row here. And I need 1 more. So I'm going to be just doing another row of decreases here. Just one more to make this circle even smaller, and then I'm going to sew it together. But I'm going to be stuffing it and doing the decreases as I go. So remove my stitch marker, insert my hook into that stitch, and doing my decrease. I'm going to mark it just so I know that that is the last stitch. And then do that again. One more decrease. It's definitely harder when you get to this section. But let me stuff it right here. So you got to play around with, you know, your stitches and your stuffing, making sure that you have enough room to continue stuffing your head. I like to make sure that mine is nice and tight in there, so that all the space is pushed and the head is like properly shaped. I find that if you don't do enough stuffing, it might look flat in certain parts, and you don't want that. So you got to make sure that you are incorporating your stuffing all the way. You can turn it around to give it a look, you know, make sure that you like it. That's looking pretty good for me. So let's continue doing our decreases. And this is the bottom of the head, so it's okay if it's not perfect because you're just going to be sewing it onto the body. So decrease, decrease. And I think I'm just going to leave it at that. So now let me give this a look, make sure that I like its shape, or if I need stuffing elsewhere. Okay, looks pretty good to me. Now I can go ahead and cut up my yarn, and I'm going to be leaving a tail so I can use it to sew it to the body, and grabbing my needle. Now here's a disclaimer, guys, I'm not the best sewer, so that's something that, you know, you might have a better technique than me. But this is a later problem. Right now we're actually going to create the face and then the ears. Okay, so now we're going to give this cutie a little face. I like making mine like sleepy eyes. So you're going to grab your needle, and I'm using this brown. It's like a light brown, and it's the same material. It's had a little bit of it. So I'm going to be just threading my needle, leaving a bit of a tail. And so I'm gonna be, let's see, I'm just gonna do it here. I'm gonna insert it honestly at any point because it's all the same. Just make sure that the top of your head is at the top and where your stitch marker is at the bottom. And so I'm going to be creating the eye here. It's gonna be like a straight line. So I'm going to insert it here. And I'm going kind of covering around 3 to 4 stitches. So just grabbing this, I'm going to leave this tail here, and I'm going to reinsert my needle in that same point. Now, wherever I come out of is where my other eye is going to start. So I've got 3 stitches here. I'm going to leave around 3 also in between the eyes, and I'm going to come into that same height, around 3 stitches to the left of where this is. So that is why I'm doing this. You pull it back, or pull your yarn, I should say. And now you've got this first cute little eye. And now the positioning to start the second one. So we are going to now go to the left of this point. 1, 2, 3, around 3 stitches at the same height to make that second eye. And same idea, wherever you come out with your needle is where your nose is going to start. So I'm actually just going to start it. Let's see here, I want it to go like that. So I'm going to come, yeah, that seems okay. Let's see, around there to begin the nose. Pull my yarn through. There's my second eye. And now I'm going to make the nose. And I'm going to do just a tiny little nose that's going to sit right there. So I'm going to go a couple of stitches to the right of this point now. and then back to that same spot to make it like a couple of strands for the nose, just so it's nice and thick. There we go. Do it again. And I think I'm now going to go down to make the line of the mouth that comes up. And there we go. That's your nose. And now lastly, it's the mouth that you're going to do by going upwards, and you can kind of go under the nose there. And what I like doing is then just coming out at the bottom, because that's the last little strand you need. So I'm just going to pull my yarn down, and then that creates my little nose. So now this guy here, we got to hide. The way that I do it, I don't know if there's a better way, but I'm just going to grab this tail, and I'm going to try and make a point at the same place, but behind the eye. And I'm also going to bring it to the bottom so that I can pull it back through there, making sure I don't pull too tight. And there we have it. This is our cute little face. Now I'm just going to create a knot with those two ends, you know, just to extra secure it. Just a little knot there, little knot there, and you can go ahead and cut it. Again, this is going to be attached to our body, so you won't be able to see it. So there we go. Now we can actually create the ears for this little bear. So now we're going to be creating the ear, for which you want to do a magic circle again. Now we're going to chain 1, and you're going to be working 6 single crochets into the ring. So you do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And now again, because when I pull my stitches, I normally it's too tight for the first one. So I'm going to grab my stitch marker and mark the first stitch here. The very first single crochet, put my stitch marker into it. And now I can go ahead and close this. And now we're going to be working in the round like we did for the head. So remove your stitch marker. Into that first stitch, do 2 single crochets. And we're going to be marking the first one. Again, this one's kind of tight, but you want to work in the round, so we're going to do 1 single crochet and 2 single crochets. And we're going to mark the first one. Okay. Now you want to work 2 single crochets into each stitch all the way around. So just a increase into each stitch. And then this is my last one here. Okay, so the way that this is going to work for your ear is we're going to be folding this in half and then attaching it like this. So you can kind of make your ear as big or small as you want. I think I want one more row. So I'm going to remove my stitch marker, and in my next row I'm going to do 1 single crochet into the next stitch, mark it, and then an increase into the next. So 1 and 2. And this is what I want to do all the way around. 1 single crochet into the next stitch, and then 2 into the next. 1 single crochet into the next stitch, 2 into the next, 1 single crochet into the next, 2 into the next. One and 2, and then 1 and 2 into the next, And now I think we've got the size of the ear that we want. Let's fold it. Perfect. So now I can go ahead and cut off my yarn, making sure I leave a long tail because I'm going to use that to weave it in. So remove your stitch marker and we can go ahead and cut the inner one. And now this is going to be our ear. So make another one of these. I'll do that off camera and I'll see you when I'm done. Okay, I just made my second ear here. And so now we can go ahead and sew that to the head. So one thing that you're gonna wanna know is that while you sew it, you kind of pinch it down to make like a little bit of a curve. Again, not the best sewer, so it's hard for me to explain, but in terms of positioning, I normally go from the middle of the top of the head down. So I count 1, 2, 3. And I think that's where I want my first ear to be. So I'm going to sew it with the sewing yarn like closest to where I want it. So let me just grab that first. And this is going to be the top of the left ear that I'm doing. So counting again, 1, 2, 3. It's around here that I want my ear. So I'm going to add that in this specific spot that I want the ear to begin. The top of the ear to begin, I should say. Okay, great. So now we've got that. And now I'm going to just sew the back, like I put my yarn through the back and make sure that it goes through the bottom of the front as well, like that. And then I pull it through. And so for it to do that curl that I'm talking about, you kind of have to cinch it together. Like I create the shape that I want and then I sew it like that. So now that I'm here, I'm going to grab a point and go to the back again. And I'm going to go a bit further so that I can grab, let me see, I'm going to insert my hook through here, but then also insert it through the next stitch in the back so that I can now come through the front and pull it through. There might be a better way to explain this, you guys, but I'm just going to show you what I do. And hopefully you can understand. Like at this point, I'm just going to try and sew it closer to the back so that it starts creating that curl. Same with this. I'm at this end of the ear, but I want to sew it closer to the top of the head. There we go. I think that explains it. Closer to the top of the head so that it curls the piece of the ear. And now I can go back to just kind of sewing it down. We already got a little bit of that curl. And I don't think it's very noticeable because it's the same yarn color. So as long as your threads are not too like big, you're not really able to see it. I feel like here I didn't do a good job at the corner of the ear, so I'm going to go back and I can just kind of hide my yarn through like the actual head. And I'm going to grab that now and sew it down. And it's nice because this first ear will determine the positioning of your second ear. But see, now that is curved a little bit and sew and you can't really tell the yarn, like where it is. So now I'm going to go ahead and just hide my yarn through the back like this. I'm going to cut it. And if you have anything sticking out, you can always push it with your needle. So again, guys, that was not the fanciest, way to explain this, but this is how I do it. And I'm going to repeat that on the other side. I'm going to make sure that I start at the top of the ear so that this is positioned where it should, proportional to the other ear, right? And then I'm going to do the curl thing. Then I'm going to attach my head to the body. I'm going to sew it together. Again, I'm just going to go through points of the head and go into the body like that. I don't really think I need to show you this because you might have a different way of sewing and mine isn't like the fanciest, but same idea. Just grab multiple points of the head, multiple points of the body and making sure it's centered, and then you'll have your Lovey.